don't know.
Okay.
We good?
Yeah.
All right.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to our weekly adoption outreach live stream. We're live in Belle Plaine, Minnesota.
And today is February 7th, 1 week before Valentine's Day.
Oh boy. My name's Tucker.
And my name is Timmy Basil.
And we're here to just talk about things.
Well, I think I'll start out by saying it's like negative 17 degrees.
Well, it feels like negative 17.
In Minnesota today,
Yep.
which is, not really nice for being outside if you want to go outside and do something. So I think that
Snot will freeze on your nose.
That was one of the things that prompted us to just talk about movies today.
Yes, so that's going to be the theme of today is we're just going to talk about movies and, our favorite movies, movie traditions, different things like that. But before we get into that, is there any important updates for our adoption? Because this is about adoption.
There's a pretty big update. We moved up in the adoption profile book waiting list quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
We are now at spot number 8.
8? I thought it was 6.
I think it's 8.
It's one of those two. I'm usually wrong at these sorts of things.
Yep, so, just a few more spots to go, and then we're in the profile booklet.
Yeah, so we're really excited about that.
And we're starting to make our, what do you call it?
Profile.
Our profile, flyer.
Yeah, so basically, if you, if a potential birth mother wanted to know more about us rather than watching all these videos, all of our live streams from our website and Facebook page, they could just look at a quick handout about hey, who are these guys?
Yep, so that's one of the other things we're starting to work on.
Which is, I think that's fun.
So,
it's progress. We're doing things.
Do you have any other updates?
Nope.
Okay.
Should I?
Well, I don't know if it's a big deal or not, but I think it's kind of exciting that I guess we have a new caseworker.
Oh, well, that's been up for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things that the caseworker that did our home study, I guess.
She's a social worker at our adoption.
Yeah.
Company.
She's no longer working there, so we were assigned a different caseworker. So it was exciting because this past Wednesday we met her for the first time via Zoom.
Yeah. And it was fun. It was fun. Nice to get to know her.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I think that's all the adoption updates we have.
Yeah. And so if this is your first time watching one of our live streams, what we like to do is, obviously update if there's, some important new news about our adoption journey. But then also the main thing is to let people know about who we are, with the hopes that maybe a potential birth mother would see this video, this one right now, and say, you know what, those guys are pretty cool. I'm gonna reach out to them. Maybe they can be our parent of my kid. That's why we do these, so that way we can try to reach as many people as we can. And we like to just share a little bit about ourselves. Last week we did a baking show.
Yep.
And
I know in the past we've done a video where we talked about books, and we've done a video where we talk about our jobs. So each week we just talk about something a little different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, who says Happy Sunday? Is it my mom?
Oh, I can't tell.
Somebody says, I think I can't see who it says, but Happy Sunday to you too.
Movies?
Movies. Let's talk about movies.
Yeah.
Do you want to start, or I can? Up to you.
I'll let you can start this one.
Okay. All right. So, movies. I don't know. I love movies.
Yep.
You love movies.
We do.
We like watching movies together.
Yep. And like I said, when it's negative 15 degrees in Minnesota,
what do you do?
What else do you do other than watch movies?
Yeah, or play board games and stuff like that too.
Yes.
But movies are a good thing to do. So I'm going to start just by sharing what my favorite movies are of all time. And many of you that know me probably know this already, but I love Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings so much. I love fantasy. I love magic. If you saw the book episode of our live streams, you know that. And Lord of the Rings is just one of the most epic movies in general. Just well done. They're just beautiful pieces of art. And then on top of it, it's really good, subject matter too for me personally. But I remember when we first started seeing each other, you had seen Lord of the Rings, but not the extended versions, right?
That's correct.
Yep. So
of course we had to rewatch them with the extended features.
Oh yeah, because if you don't watch the extended versions, you don't get the full story, obviously.
Mm-hmm. And I just, one of the things I remember from watching those is while I was watching them, Tucker would just interject and say, "Hey, this is in the book, but it's not in the other one," or
Or did you know that at this part, Viggo Mortensen, when he kicks the helmet, he breaks his foot? I know a lot of the behind the scenes and stuff like that too, because I've seen nearly all of the 24 hours of bonus behind the scenes stuff for Lord of the Rings. So I have to at least talk about Lord of the Rings.
Absolutely. And I don't know, is this something that we probably watch maybe once a year?
Usually.
Yeah.
Usually
all the way through.
Oh yeah. It's usually a weekend.
Yeah.
Because each of them are over 2 hours long. The third one is over 3 hours long. Mm-hmm. So they're really good. If you've never seen them, watch them.
So I would like to ask you a question about movies that you watched as a kid.
Okay.
So what are some of the movies that you remember watching as a kid that you really enjoy? And if there's any of you watching that you have, that your kids have a favorite movie, just comment,
Let us know what you think too. Or what is your favorite movie? I'd like to hear that. Or whatever. So as a kid, we watched a lot of movies. But they're always Disney movies were probably one of the biggest things that we watched. I have lots of memories of watching 101 Dalmatians, and in the intro scene, when all the puppies are running across the screen, I remember doing what the puppies were doing and taking my foot and scratching my head with it and doing that and all the musicals.
How old do you think you were?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know, 4 or 5. I'm a bad judge of that.
I'm just trying to get an idea if this is, 4 or 5-year-old Tucker scratching his ear with his foot, or if this is 15-year-old Tucker.
Yeah,
because to this day, Tucker still loves watching Disney movies. So
the reason why I'm laughing is because I probably as a 14 or 15-year-old would still do that if I saw it, and because even now it's been a while since I've seen 101 Dalmatians, but I probably would do that now. I still do sing along to any Disney movie that we've watched and stuff like that. My mom says I was a little less than 2 years old.
Oh, wow.
Kenzie, my sister, says I was the king of 101 Dalmatians. Mm-hmm. I had 101 Dalmatians sleeping bag that we would take camping.
Is 101 Dalmatians the movie that you ended up getting from your aunt and uncle because you watched it so many times?
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure, if my memory serves me right, that whenever we go to Norman Steve's, my aunt and uncle, I would watch it there, and it ended up being that I watched it so much that they just gave it to us. So lots of Disney movies. That was my favorite movie growing up, was 101 Dalmatians. So Timmy, what's your favorite movies to watch? And then I'm going to follow it up with the same question you asked me. So,
so this is probably just a series that everyone has watched, but I always like it because it's something that's kid friendly, but you can play it in the background if you've seen it, and it always just adds a really warm and inviting atmosphere to your home if you're playing it. But it's the Harry Potter series. Yes. I don't know if anyone could have guessed that, but it's one of those movies that has a special place for me because whenever Harry Potter, the movies started coming out, it was pretty close to my age.
So we were the same age as the characters.
So as they were releasing the movies, I really identified with the characters because I was the same age as the main character, and then every year the character would get older and I would get a year older. So it was one of those things that was really cool to just have those movies at that point in my life. And so I remember reading the books as a kid and watching the movies, but something that is almost like a little funny tradition that started when I was in college is my roommates, Justin and Danielle, would always play Harry Potter between Thanksgiving and Christmas, almost 24/7. It was always playing. Just from what I can remember at the apartment, we would be working on homework or something, and one of the Harry Potter movies would be playing. So we would just play through all of them and then start back at the beginning and play through them again. So You know, it's one of those things that even this past year, whenever I would be cleaning up around the house or something, I
or
would
if
just...
we were like decorating or something.
Just decorating, we would put Harry Potter on and just let it play, because it's always a...
Because they always have like a scene around like Christmas time,
Yep.
like when it's getting cold and stuff like that. So I've always thought of like Harry Potter's like has like a Christmassy vibe to it.
It does.
And it's also just great, you know, books and movies too.
So I don't know if you would call that a little tradition, but it's...
Yeah,
It's
but
like-
the question was like, what do you like watching? Like, what's one of your favorites? And
Yeah.
So then, as a kid, did you have any like favorite movies that you remember?
Oh boy. So as a kid, I can't remember like a specific movie that sticks out, but I do remember watching a lot of really old VHS tapes. And I even think one of them was a Betamax. I think it was my parents.
What's that?
My parents had Fox and the Hound on Betamax, which
Oh
was
my
kind of
gosh.
like a short little VHS
Yeah,
tape.
I was joking. But
But I remember watching movies like Fox and the Hound.
Fox and the Hound is sad.
The Jungle Book. I remember watching that as a kid. It was just like, and it was one of those things. Like I remember, like the VHS tapes would be in like this plastic case that you kind of would like pop the case open, and
Yep.
it was like,
You always had to rewind it before you put it back in the case. That was the rule.
oh yeah, yep, you would. So like those are some of the things I remember as a kid. It's just like,
yeah, and like I remember specifically in the entertainment center, like there was a drawer that you would pull out for in my house.
I've seen it.
You have seen
Yep.
it. And that's where all the Disney movies would be, and so like all like the animated like Disney movies. I remember like going in there and like pulling them out and like figuring out, okay, which of these am I going to watch.
And I also
we had a
remember
lot.
some of the times the tape would get stuck in the VHS, and like it would catch, and then you'd have to pull it out, and the tape would be dangling.
Oh, that didn't happen often.
Happened to me a couple times.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, like, you know, whenever we have kids, how are we going to explain some of these things? Like, you know,
We'll have to bust out
whenever
one.
we were growing up, we watched VHS, and then DVDs came along, and then Blu-rays came along, and now I can't even think, like, you know, we own everything that's probably on Amazon Prime or something, and we stream it.
Yep. Let's see. So, like, you had mentioned, like, the tradition of watching Harry Potter.
Yep.
And I want to talk about a different tradition that I have with watching a certain movie series.
Okay.
And so, and you know about it because it's transitioned over into our household now. But I have a tradition that's related to the Matrix trilogy. And this started back when I went to college for the first time, where you know, like when you go to college or anytime you like move into a place, you like everything's just kind of a disaster. And I remember the first thing that we set up was TV, and I think I had an Xbox at the time, and that was it. Like that was the first thing to set up. Oh, and putting the bedding on the bed. Like that was it. Well, actually, my family put the bedding on the bed.
Okay.
They left, and then I set up the whatever. It doesn't matter. But then I just watched the first Matrix movie because I was like, "There's literally nothing else for me to do. I know nobody here. I am a little homesick. I don't know what to do." So I just watched the first Matrix movie, and then the next night I, you know, set up stuff, and then I watched the second Matrix movie, and then by the time I'd watched the third one, I'd pretty much gotten settled in. And I remembered it helped me get past that like initial like homesickness. And then every year after that, I started doing that. Every time I would move in to college, I would start the first night with the first Matrix movie. And then by the time I got through the third one, I was usually settled in. And so that would always happen around like August. And so now...
Yeah, so it's kind of a tradition in our household that like right around the time school starts, we always like to have a weekend where we just watch the Matrix movies.
Yeah, yeah.
Just as like, all right, summer's over and school's about ready to start. So
it's time for Matrix.
Yep. So that's a little tradition that we have here, even.
And it's kind of fun. It's like kind of like a weird tradition, but it, you know, thinking about how it started, it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense, but it's one of those things that's probably unique to us. So yeah.
So I think that pretty much, I mean, we could probably talk about movies all day, and then we could probably talk about TV shows, because that's an entirely different
gosh.
category of TV
And
shows
I
that
could
we
probably
like to watch.
talk forever on movie scores, because
Yep.
that was new for you, like that you right, like you didn't really pay attention to movie music before.
I've always been the type of person that even when I listen to music, I pay more attention to the lyrics. So like, it wasn't so much movie scores that I noticed, but yeah, I know what you're getting at.
Yeah, so like I love, and now we both do, listening to like movie music, movie scores, and I could go on and on about that. I could go on and on just about the music scores for Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
And he does every now and then.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess before we sign off, like if you have anything related to movies that you want to share with us, like do you have any movie traditions or movie memories about like from your family and that kind of stuff? We'd love to hear about that. Is there any...
Also, if you have any things, activities that you're doing when it's negative 15 degrees outside,
yeah,
or what activities you're doing with your kids because it's so cold you really can't send them outside to make snowmen or anything. So
yeah,
let us know. Comment about that too.
Sure. Cool.
So do you want to do the
Should I sign us out?
Yep, I'll let you do that.
So, like I say at the end of all of these, if you want to help us in our adoption journey,
Oh, you see there's a comment from Norma.
Norma. I wonder how many times Tucker watched that show. She's probably talking about 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah.
Or as I used to call it, Dalmatians. But like as always, if you want to help us in our adoption journey, like, comment on our posts, especially this one since you're watching it. And even better, share, because that's going to be the best way that we can get to a wider population of people. Because the goal of this is to try to connect with a potential birth mother. And more than anything, just talk about us to anybody that you know, and just share our story and let them know that we're looking to adopt. So, I think that's everything.
All right. Thank you for joining us.
Yep. Have a good week, everybody, and we'll see you on next Sunday at 1:00.